Hi everyone. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how the Domains app works. So to do so, I'm going to break it down to a couple steps. So I made an agenda here. I'm going to talk about adding a domain that you already own. So I'm going to call that an external domain. I'm going to talk about how to buy a domain on Deal.ai. So we call that internal domains. I'm going to talk about how to use those domains with the apps on Deal.ai, such as funnels, websites, blogs, and your white label site. How to use subdomains, like so if you want blog.yourdomain.com or app.yourdomain.com for white label, for example, those are subdomains. So I'll show how to use those. And then lastly, we have a feature where you can forward your domain slash whatever to another URL. So we have that as well. So let's get into it. So for adding a domain, all you have to do is click this Add Existing Domain button and click that. And for me, I already have a domain that I already purchased on Namecheap. So I have Namecheap open. You might have GoDaddy or whatever is out there. So what I'm going to do is copy it, the domain name, and go back over here, paste it, and then click Add Domain. And that's all you have to do to add a domain to Deal.ai. And now you can use that domain in the apps. Now that domain is currently not pointed at Deal.ai. And to point it at Deal.ai, click on the instructions here. So if you click on that, now depending on how you want to use the domain, whether it's for funnels or websites, that we call it the funnel server, is the first one up here. So you'll have to add an A record that points here. And if you want to use it for your white label site, we'll add a different A record. Now, remember how I mentioned subdomains? Usually people want to host their white label site on app.theirdomain.com. So we're going to ignore this instruction. In fact, let me just show you how to do that right now. If I click on subdomains, then I add one called app, hit add, you'll see instructions on how to use that app subdomain for white label. So I think that's what we'll do for white label. But anyway, I want to make my base domain being used for funnels because I want to make that the sales page for my software. Basically, I'm selling AI software. I want this root domain to be my funnel, and then I want that subdomain app to basically be my white label site. So let's do that. So the first thing I'll do is click on instructions here. So again, the funnel is going to be this first instruction at the top. So let's copy this IP address, Command C, and then I switch to the domains app, and here I'm in, switch to Namecheap, and then I click on DNS, this advanced DNS tab. Now when you buy a domain here or on any other registrar, usually they'll give you a couple DNS records by default. So usually you'll just want to delete those unless you really want to keep them, but let's just delete those for now. And then let's add a new record, an A record. Now for Namecheap and a lot of other providers, usually you'll just put an @ sign. So in our instructions, when we say point this domain at this IP address, really this host is like a subdomain. So if you don't have a subdomain, you're pointing the root domain, just put an @ sign is usually how it works. And then here's where we'll paste the IP address. So again, for most providers, A record, @ sign, and then the IP address that you copied from these instructions. TTL, automatic, or whatever, doesn't really matter that much, and hit save. And now it is pointed. Now that could take sometimes a few minutes, sometimes a few hours. If this doesn't work quickly, we'll check back at that time and I'll cut the video, but let's see. In the meantime, while that propagates though, let's try adding the subdomain. So if I click on subdomain, instructions, and I want to use this for white label. So let's take this app and point to that whitelabel.deal.ai. So I'm going to copy that, go here, and then go to CNAME, app, and then point it there. That's pretty much all the configuration you'll do for most people. You can get creative with this. You can do, redirects and forwarding and other subdomains and things like that, but it's really not necessary. Usually you just have your funnel on your root domain, and then you have your white label site on the subdomain. So let's actually use it now. So this is a brand new account again, so there's nothing in here yet, but let's go to the funnel app over here, ultra fast funnels. And then let's create a new funnel. Let's call it, what was my domain name called? I called it Amazing AI Software. So we'll call it Amazing AI Software. Let's just say that's the name of my business. Let's create the funnel. Click on the funnel, and then let's add a funnel step. Let's call it welcome. Hit next, and let's just go with one of the default templates here. And that should take a moment, like so. And any second now. And there we go, it created our page. Now, as you can see, the URL is app.previewdeal.ai because we didn't set a domain yet for this. So let's click on this button here on the right. That should open it up. All right, there's our template. We didn't edit it yet, so there's other videos on how to edit funnels. So for now, we'll just leave it as the default. So let's close that. Now in the settings tab for this funnel, I can set a domain. And here I'm just going to choose the base domain, Amazing AI Software. So let's choose that and hit save. Now here's another reminder that this base domain needs to be pointed at this IP address, which is fine. We already did that, and that's already propagating. We can test it out. Usually the way I test it out is if I copy the domain name, Control C, and then do Command Shift N to open a new incognito window, and then paste it and hit enter. Let's see if it loads. Sometimes it takes a little longer the first time. It actually worked. So that was pretty quick that time. So I just bought this domain, added that A record, and then hooked it up to that funnel, and now it's loading for that funnel. Another thing you can do inside the funnel is if you click on the steps, and let's say you have a couple of funnels using the same domain name, and you want this funnel and this funnel step to be the default. So right now, if I go to amazingsoftware.com, it'll actually randomly pick a page because I don't have a page that has a blank path. So in the publishing tab for a page, you can change the path. You can make it a blank path if you'd like, so that'll just be your domain name. Or you can set it to be welcome or whatever you want it to be. But you can also check this checkbox here. If you check the checkbox, then even if I set a path and I go to amazingsoftware.com, it'll still load this page. So usually you want at least one of your pages to be like the default page for your domain. And if I make a new funnel and a new page, I can check the box. It'll override this one, and that'll become the default page. So that's a little convenient way to just hop around different apps within Deal.ai, funnels, websites, and just quickly set whichever one you want to be the default. So that's how to quickly get started with a funnel. Now for my white label site, let's go to the white label app and go here, go to settings. So let's choose a domain from the drop down here, and here's where I'm going to choose app.amazingaisoftware. So as you can see, both of these are showing up because I added both to the domains app. And then once I select it, I can hit save. And now let's see if that loads. If I go back here, I have a link here, visit your white label site, so I can click it. And let's see if this loads our white label site. And there we go, it loaded. It is a little plain looking. It doesn't have a logo yet, so let's add a logo real quick. So if I go back to settings, I can click to upload a logo. And I think I have a logo called Cool Logo or something. Downloads. Yeah, there it is, Cool Logo. Let's try that. And let's call it Amazing AI Software as the site name, and hit save. And there we go. Now if I refresh the page, there we go. Sign in Amazing AI Software. You have the logo on the left, and you're ready to go with your white label site. So just to summarize what I just did on the domains page, I added a domain. I added a subdomain for the app subdomain. I pointed first of all, I added two domain records. One record I pointed at our funnel server, and the other record was following the instructions for pointing it at our white label site for a subdomain. And again, both of these instructions are in here. We tell you exactly how to set it up depending on how you want to set it up, whether it's the base domain, the instructions are here. And for subdomains, the instructions are going to be in here. So read these instructions, figure out how you want to set it up. But how I just did it is the common way of doing it. So that's an external domain. Let's take a look at buying a domain. So let's take a look here. Let's click on buy a new domain and let's search for, let's say, my cool. I already typed it in before. Let's just put it back. So I typed in mycoolaibusiness.com, search for domain. Let's see if it comes up again. There it is. So I'm just going to click this button here, which should just buy using my card on file. If you don't have a card on file or if it fails, it'll prompt you for a new card. So just click it and you'll see it'll just either work or it'll ask you for a new card. So let's see, processing. All right, I think it worked. So it just finished the purchase of mycoolaibusiness.com. It is now officially my domain. And you'll notice a couple of things. When you buy a domain on deal.ai, it's kind of already set up for you because we, as the kind of purveyor of this domain, have the ability to modify the DNS records. You can modify the DNS records yourself, but we also can help you with that. And you'll see by default, we already gave you two default subdomains, one for app, which kind of is intended to be used for white label, and then one for blog. You can, of course, add your own subdomain, but we just kind of helped you out so you don't have to do any extra work. Now for the instructions, we do give you the instructions on how to set this up, but again, we did a lot for you. So if you click on edit next to that domain, you'll see here that we gave you a whole bunch of DNS records already so that you don't have to add them yourself. And if you do add your own subdomain on the other screen, it'll automatically add the requisite DNS record here. So basically, there's a lot of benefit to buying your domain on deal.ai. We handle a lot of the complexity for you. But if you do want to get your hands dirty and dive into these records, you can do it on this page. So that's here as well. And we'll talk about domain forwarding rules later. So once I have this domain added, I can go back, let's say, to, well, actually, let's go to the white label app first. Let's go to settings. I can choose my domain here, click on app. So I'm basically changing the domain of my white label app. Now, as you can see, there's a button here that says do it for me. So it's giving me the instructions and it has a button that says do it for me. Just in case let's say I chose a new domain name and I deleted the DNS record and I'm not sure how to add it back, you just click this button here, it'll load and then it'll say domain updated, and that'll basically just insert that missing DNS record. But you shouldn't need to click it if you just, bought your domain through us and you have the app subdomain, it'll already be set. All you have to do is choose it from the dropdown and click on save here. Now let's go back and let's visit the white label site again. And as you can see, it'll load the new domain name. Although, yeah, it propagated already. And there we go. So now our white label site is no longer at Amazing AI Software. It's now at mycoolaibusiness.com. So we're having a little fun with domains here. And for the funnels, well, I already showed you the funnels. Let me try showing you a blog. So if I go to blogs, let's add a new blog. Let's call it the AI Software blog. Add a blog. And let's add a post and let's call it hello. And I think I have to add a hero image. So let's see if I have any other cool images that we can choose from here. Smileycool.gif. Let's try that. Not the best, but let's go with it. All right. Again, not the best. Hello, this is a test post. And let's use some AI to finish it up. There we go. And let's hit save and publish. There we go, it's published. Let's go back to posts. Now under settings for my blog, here's where I choose the domain name. And let's choose that domain name that we just purchased, mycoolaibusiness.com. Let's put it on the blog subdomain. I don't have to click do it for me because this was one of the default ones, so it's already done for me. So that's fine. And while we're at it, sure, let's set it as the default. And it's warning me that, you're setting it as the default. It'll override any other previous defaults. That's fine. And hit save. And there we go. So now if I click on view blog, let's see if that loads. And there we go. We have our blog post right here. So there we go. Let's go back to the domains tab here. So as you can see, that's adding a domain, buying a domain. It works the same way, whichever way you do it. You can, once you add the domain here, you can use it throughout the various apps on Deal.ai. And just to summarize subdomains, so you can either use the root domain, we call this the base domain, root domain, whatever you want to call it. And then you also have subdomains, which are, what comes before that first period there. That pretty much covers domains and how they're used. So let's touch upon domain forwarding. So as you can see here, if you click on edit, either for an external domain or for an internal domain, you have these domain forwarding rules. Now, if you click on add, you'll kind of get a sense for what this is all about. So basically, you can forward a path to an external destination or an internal destination on the same domain. But just as an example, let's just say I'll copy this here because it has to start with that. So mycoolaibusiness.com/news, and let's just have it go to CNN.com just for the news. And it could either be exact or not. So if you want other things like, let's say if it's not exact, then if it's /news ? Let's say you have some UTM params, that'll be a match. Or if it's, let's say, news-2 or something like that, it'll still work. But if you want it to be exact, like it has to be /news exactly, then set it as exact. So let's save that. Now let's copy this pattern here and try it out. So if I do, let's say, a new tab here and paste it in, let's try it. And it should forward to CNN. There we go. So that pretty much covers domains. Hope you have some fun setting up your domains and using it in the various apps. And reach out to us if you get stuck anywhere. And one of the benefits of having your domain bought through Deal.ai is our support team can usually help you in actually setting certain records for you. And getting it all set up for you a lot easier than if it's external. But that being said, if you did buy it on Namecheap or GoDaddy or whatever, we can usually still help you and point you in the right direction on what kind of records you need to add if you do get stuck. So let us know and have fun with it.